author, creator of the Tetrahedral Mental Performance Coach, and your host of this show, The Success Code. I'm super excited. I got the live popping now on the YouTube, Facebook, all of that. We got Todd Millie today. We're gonna talk about money. We're gonna talk about real estate. I'm gonna see what I could do to try to cajole him into giving us some of his secrets for free. Then we're gonna show you how you can get his course. You got to get his course in just a moment here after we bring the show in. See you in 2 seconds. All right, welcome back. Let's bring Todd in. There he is. What up, bro? How you doing?
I'm doing good,
Yeah,
man.
so let me warm it up, man. I've actually known this cat for a while now. I knew him before, both of us had identity changes, just decided we wanted to go get this money and really contribute to the world. And just to watch you grow has been crazy. CEO of Todd Capital, partner with Millie, Todd Billionaire, Todd Millionaire. What host of the Millie podcast, which is crazy.
Yeah.
I was on that podcast way back in the day, and talking about the stuff I do, and now you're just killing it, bro. For the two people that are on this live, by the way, anybody on the live, make sure you guys comment, tell me what's going on, whatever you want to ask Todd during the thing. So for the two people who don't know you, tell us about yourself, bro.
Wow. So it's a lot, but I would say most recently I became a father. So excited about that.
Mm-hmm.
Over the past weekend, we had a boy. So happy about that. Other than life stuff, I always tell people that I have an undergrad degree in finance from Cal State San Bernardino. At college, I served as chapter president for my fraternity for 2 years. Went on to be the president of the National Panhellenic Council. And so in doing that, I got a lot of experience just putting things together, putting things in motion, handling the business of organizations, not just actually participating in the fun of organizations. And from there, I just always been very business oriented. What I realized is I was like, you know what? If I can build the brand of the frat, why can't I build the brand of myself? And so what I did is just started stacking. And so I went to law school. That's a piece of my brand. Then I went to grad school. And so I'm working on an MBA. I'm like halfway through on the MBA program. And that's a piece of my brand. And so I've always been entrepreneurial. But I feel like for the longest time, I was just chasing starting a business, not necessarily helping people or serving a purpose. And so what I did recently is I created Todd Capital. And Todd Capital was still is, it's an investment club where we allow people to invest in individual stocks and real estate with what they have. Because when I left school, when I graduated with finance, I went and I worked in banking. And so I worked in banking and worked as a financial advisor. And I realized like all of these skills and all this wisdom wasn't serving my community.
Yeah.
It was serving somebody's community, but it wasn't my community. And so I had to figure out how I can use my powers for good. And so that's what we've been doing for the past maybe like 3-4 years, just building Tide Capital with so many different things. Tide Capital isn't just the investment club. It's also the podcast. It's also the other podcasts. It's also the social media. It's also the investment club for stocks, real estate, vending machines. It's also just so many different things that we're doing, the consulting company. And it's all come together to create this brand and create a lot of success for us.
Yeah, yeah, I'm really proud in how you grew on this brand, man. Last night we decided to put this together like a day or two ago, and I was like, yo, I just want to bring him some value best way I can. At the same time, piggyback on your audience. And when you posted that you're gonna go on live, bro, my Instagram lit up. I was like, yo, this dude, you got me more followers than when I went on Hollywood Unlocked Uncensored. And so I was just like,
Wow.
man, you really just got a following. We got a bunch of people on live here. Who we got? Uh, Flickitude, he says congratulations right here. Thank you, bro. Hype Photography on here. He said got you. Okay, I see you. We got my boy Trent in the house. He said, "What up, Todd?" And "What up, Roy?" What's up, bro? Hey, Trent, if you got questions, you better ask. You've been asking me about stocks. I got the GOAT right here. Who else we got? We got Trey's wifey. Obviously, Trey has a wifey, 21. Congrats. Thank you. I am Cannon. What's up? I am Cannon. Thank you for following. Thank you. Make sure you guys subscribe and all of that. What else we got? We got Miss Nikki. Hey, Nikki. She says congrats, Todd, on everything. So you guys keep bringing in your questions. We got a ton of comments. Vic Damone says respect. Vic, give me some questions for Todd. Thanks, bro. Share this, everybody. Share it on your YouTube. Share the link as we're going live and on Facebook. Right now, we're live on Facebook, LinkedIn, Periscope, and YouTube. So, just moving forward, we're going to get right into it, bro. We're going to get right into it. So, I got some questions just selfishly that I wanted to ask you. First, let's just talk about how did you get into stock options, and what I want to get to the mind frame, because without the mindset, you're not going to do this stuff. And people are so scared of risk when life is risky. You could walk outside and get hit by a car at any time. But what made you get into trading stock options? And then just knowing you, I know once you get into something, you're gonna eat 20 books on it and learn everything.
Right.
What got you into it?
So I would say that, I mean, you get out of college, and I had an undergrad degree in finance, and so I was working in financial advising. I was buying stocks, I was selling stocks to people, and you're like, dang, like the average stock moves 10% to 12% per year. Sometimes when you have a recession, maybe the stocks will run up and they'll maybe hit like 20, 25, 30. Maybe you see some crazy stuff, but on average, stocks, ETF, mutual funds in a good year are going to give you 12%. And I was thinking, I was like, man, if all you have is $100, $200, $1,000 to invest, and you make 10%, 12%, that's not changing your life. You made $120 in the whole year. And not only that, like I was doing it. So I opened up the brokerage account and I was out there trading. I was out there buying stuff, individual stocks, not stock options. And I was right. I was finding that I could tell when a stock was going to move.
Yeah.
And when you're investing $500 and that stock moves up, yeah, it's great to be right, but you should really get rewarded for being right. So you have $500 invested, that stock moves up 10% even in a week. You made $50. The thing is being right is going to take you however far your money is going to take you. Yeah. So if you have $500,000 invested and you get that same 10%, that's $50,000. But a lot of people don't have $500,000 that they're out there investing. And so what I did is I got really, really good at trading. And so I got to the point where I was consistently making money, and I was trading earnings. I was trading swing trading. I was finding undervalued stocks. And I was making good money. And I was saying, man, like this is great, because at that point in time, what I was doing is I was throwing my entire portfolio at the stocks. So I was throwing like $10,000, $15,000, all the money that I had, I would throw at that individual stock, that individual play. And even still, I was limited, because you throw 15% at something, you throw $15,000 at something, you make 10%, 15%, and now you made $1,500. Like that's not like poo-poo money, but still, that's not life-changing money. Yeah. And so I just kept digging, and I was like, you know what? Let me try this options thing out. Yeah. If I'm good at predicting when stocks are going to move, let's see if I can amplify that with options. Now, the problem is what people don't realize is a lot of brokerage houses don't let the average person trade options. So you go to TD Ameritrade, you go to Scottrade, you go to E-Trade, and they're just not giving it to you. They'll say, oh, well, you can do covered calls, or, oh, you can do this. And that's not going to really make you the money. Yeah. What you want to do is be able to go naked calls and puts, or do some more sophisticated things like straddles, spreads, different things like that. So the thing is, what I found is Robinhood will allow it. So Robinhood, he takes from the rich and gives to the poor. And so we only think of it as, oh, well, they allow us to get access to trade-free or commission-free trades. And so on one hand, that's how they give back. Yeah. But the other way they give back is they allow the average person access to options. And that's very important, because before them, I couldn't even get into options. No matter how big the account was, no matter how successful I was in trading, no matter all my education and credentials, I just couldn't get in until Robinhood. And so I got in with Robinhood, and that very first year, I knocked out $20,000. And what I did is I would do the same exact strategy. So I was swing trading. I was buying earnings because earnings is when you're going to get the most volatility in a stock.
Yeah.
When you trade earnings, you're going to get a 10%, 15%, 20%, 25% return overnight. Now, the thing is, 10%, 20% on just flat shares, flat stock is going to give you, hypothetically speaking, we're investing 10 grand. You get 2 grand. But those are only going to happen every so often. They report earnings every quarter, every 3 months. So what you can do is instead of having to put up that entire portfolio, you can just buy option contracts, which allow you to then leverage your money because one option contract effectively gives you the ability to purchase 100 shares. So now your return is based on 100 shares, not based off of one share. So that's important because let's say there's Amazon out there. Let's say there's Tesla out there. Let's say there's these big, huge companies that nobody's going to be able to buy 100 shares of. But if you buy the options, you can effectively get the same return as if you own 100 shares and you're only paying a fraction of the price. You're paying 2,000, 3,000. And so for me, that was the opportunity because I didn't have to put up my whole 10, 15 anymore.
Yeah.
I only had to put up 2. And I could actually get a better return than if I did put up that whole 10 and 15. And so what the upside of that looks like is it's astronomical. You get a 20% return and your ROI is looking like 200%, 300%. And that's what convinced me when I saw like a double, triple, quadruple my money in options. That's what kind of set me afire because we just talked about in the beginning, we're talking 10 to 12% returns. And now we're talking 200% returns. Now we're talking stuff you've never seen. But the thing is there's people out there who that's all they do every day. They're going to pay you that 10%, and they're going to say that's all we got, and they're going to take your money, and they're going to go give it to somebody who can trade, and that person's going to make money after money after money, and then they kick you back your money. That's how banks make their money. Banks make their money by paying your savings rate, giving you CDs,
And trading your money.
all those different things, and then they take your money, and they go lend it out, or they go use it to invest. And so that's just kind of what I did.
Yo, epic. You kind of touched on it, and so I'm gonna just go straight to that question. So kind of explain why it's better to buy options than buying the actual stock. And
Mhm.
I know you talked about the percentages of the return rates and how Robinhood made that possible for all of us to just cop options. But that was one of the things I was thinking, like, well, why buy and trade options when I could just cop and buy and trade the stocks? And, a lot of people are like, into the actual stock. But why is options more lucrative?
So one thing I would tell people, and one thing I even do to this day,
Mhm.
is I don't just exclusively trade options. So I have a portfolio that has individual stocks, and depending on when you buy and how you buy, you can still make money buying shares. However, options just give you that larger ROI with a smaller downside risk. And so it's like investing in real estate. So you invest in real estate, and the reason why people love it is because it's low down payment, high ROI. So you buy a house, for example, and you put 3.5% down, and the 3.5% is going to get you into a $100,000 house, which doesn't exist in California, but we're going to say it exists today. And so you buy a $100,000 house for 3.5. That's $3,500, but you got a $100,000 house. And then when that home goes up in value, let's say it goes up 20%. Now your 3.5 $3,500 investment has now turned into $20,000 in ROI. So you took 3.5 and you basically got like a 1,000% ROI, maybe like 900% ROI. That's leverage. The same thing is true with options. So with stock options, that 3.5% is going to give you the full 100,000. That means your ROI is based on the 100,000 versus with shares, you actually have to pay the whole 100,000. Now the downside of paying that one whole 100,000 is now there's opportunity cost. What could you be doing with that money?
Yeah.
Now the ROI is a whole lot less because now your infinite ROI, your 200, 300, 400, 500% ROI is now 20%.
Yeah.
Now you could actually potentially lose money because everybody likes to say that stocks only go up in value, but what about the times when they don't? Or homes go up in value. What about the times when they don't? So let's say you put up 3.5% and that home tanks and you got to short sell it. All you lost was 3,500. You didn't lose 20 grand, 30 grand, 40 grand. The same thing is true with options. Say you put up 3,500 and sometimes the trade doesn't go the way you want it to go and you lose it all. That's better than you losing. I had a situation where I bought something recently. It was like Beyond Meat, some stock I bought in the earnings, and I might have put like $1,000 in, and the stock ended up tanking like 30%. It tanked like 20% that day, 15% overnight. So the overall loss was like 35%. I lost $1,000, and that's it. If I would have put 10 grand in there, I would have lost $3,000, $3,500, $4,000, and that's the beauty of it. So the risk, people will say, oh, you're going to lose your money, but there's a cap on how much you can lose. You already know how much you're going to lose. And so for me, going into this week, I'm saying, hey, I got to scale back. I can't be going crazy doing these $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 options trades. Let me just chunk it out. 200 here, 200 here, 200 there, 200 there. So I'm going to double my money. I might lose some, but the goal isn't to win everything. Like, that's not really what success looks like. When I look at success, I look at, and I compare it a lot of times to sports, where Michael Jordan, or even Steph Curry for that matter, Steph Curry is like a legendary three-point shooter. The guy shoots like 50%. 50%, maybe like 52, 53. Yeah. He's still missing a lot of shots, and he's the GOAT. But a lot of people, they're like, I'm not even shooting if I can't hit it. I'm saying if you put out 10 investments and 5 of them fail, but 5 of them succeed, the 5 that succeed are going to overcome the 5 that failed. Yeah. So
you're winning. It's a numbers game. That's super clutch. All right, let's get into. We got a bunch of people in here. All right, so we got Flag Attitude. They said, which platform were you on? DM me. DM me. I'll talk to you about that. What was that, Todd?
Oh, I thought you were talking about for trading. But he's talking about something different.
Talking about trading. Yeah. What platform do you use for trading?
So the platform that I use a few. In the beginning, I was just using Robinhood exclusively. Mm-hmm. Now I have money in different spots. So I have money in Robinhood. I have money in TD Ameritrade. Mm-hmm. I have money in Webull. And I think I'm in the process of opening up a Charles Schwab account. So this week I'll be getting a Charles Schwab account. I tell people that everything you need is in Robinhood. And I said that before I even knew the true functionality of Robinhood. These days, you can go into Robinhood and you can select that individual stock, hit expand, and they're going to have all the tools you need. They're going to have moving averages. They're going to have the RSI. They're going to have MACD, all those different, you can use candlestick charts, all those things that you need, they're going to be there. And that was actually before I used to just use Google Finance. And there's more, we use TradeView, which is a really, really good platform. There's another one that we started using. I forgot just talking what it is, but we use a lot of different stuff. I tell people, like, even in analyzing stocks, I don't just only use technical analysis. I'm using a combination of technical and fundamental analysis, especially when we're trading into earnings. I want to know what the chart's doing, but I also want to know what that actual company is doing. I tell people to trade the chart and your heart. So you got to really dig in. You got to read. You got to study. It's not just looking at the chart and throwing darts. You got to dig in. You got to read what the analysts are saying. You got to look at.
And you share your process on how you think and go about that in your course, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll talk about absolutely. That. And we're always adding more content. It was kind of just like something I did for fun. I put it out there. I knew I had the knowledge, and the response was overwhelming. And so we made a second video. And the second video was just addressing all the questions. So we sat down and went through a whole hour of just answering questions. So people were saying, hey, what does this mean? What does that mean? How do you do this? And so I created a whole second presentation. So the first presentation is an overview. It talks about my strategy. And the second presentation is basically where I break down all the frequently asked questions, what people are asking, and what are the answers to those questions? Because a lot of times people ask the same questions. Yeah. So we break it all up.
Speaking of frequently asked questions, Trent on YouTube says, I purchased Todd's course and I wanted to know how to correctly pull the trigger to trading options. Specifically, how do you come up with a strategy and how do you think about that?
So I think the first thing that you have to do, and I always tell people this, is I like people to invest in what they know and understand. I don't want you chasing money. I want you to chase what you know. So I say that because what happens is if you are buying something that you know and it goes up, that's great. But if you're buying something and it goes down, you need to know why it went down. You need to know if it was right. It should it have gone down, or is that a fluke? Because stocks don't always go in your favor, and you got to be able to know what's going on. You need to know if it's overvalued. You need to know who their competitors are. You need to know what's upcoming for them. You need to know if they have earnings coming up. And so for me, you have to create that watch list of like 10 companies: Apple, Google, Tesla, Amazon, great companies that move a lot, because you want to find companies that are going to be volatile. And so for me, I tend to only really invest. I never invest in something I don't understand. That doesn't make any sense. So find some companies you understand and find companies that you know. The next thing that I do is you got to look at that earnings chart. So we go straight to earnings whispers. Earnings whispers are going to tell you who's reporting earnings that week. And actually, it's a lot of times tell you who's reporting earnings that month. And so if I'm doing an earnings strategy, I'm going to follow earnings. And so I just look at the companies. And so they're going to give you this huge calendar, and it might have like 25 companies on there, and maybe five are companies that you know. Dig in on those five, read all the articles, look at the charts, look at their 52-week high and 52-week low, look at whether they've been trading up or trading down since the last time they reported earnings, look at what they did prior to when they reported earnings. The 3-month chart is probably going to be the most important chart, especially if you're trading earnings, but you have to be cautious, because a lot of times what can happen is the news can be so optimistic between the last time when they reported earnings into the most current time that even if it's on an uptrend, it can actually correct down. And the same thing is true for the opposite. If the news is really bad, they can be on a downtrend. And then even if the news on earnings is positive, they can either continue down or they can pop up. So it's really important to know that. But what's really important also is that knowing that if the market is wrong, let's say, for example, you pick a great company and they report earnings and they get killed, you still got to hold that company. So, for example, Lululemon killed earnings, but the reason why the stock fell is because they couldn't really give you guidance, because they don't know. The market is so unpredictable right now, but they're still going to kill it. So next week could probably be a good week for them. The week after that could be a good week for them. A lot of companies right now are just like struggling. So Nike is another example. Nike is a company that was massively undervalued, and they reported earnings and they just popped like crazy, because even though there's all this uncertainty, they're still undervalued based on their true value. So you have to look at the intrinsic value and the actual like market value. And I talk about that a lot in the course also. Like there's what a company should really be worth, and there's what a company is priced at presently.
Yeah.
And if you can find a discrepancy, you can make some money. If you know Tesla is worth a lot more than what the market's pricing it at, then you got to buy it ahead of earnings. You got to buy it ahead of the news. You always got to get ahead of the curve. But step one is buying what you know. Step one is, and then if there's something that interests you, maybe you got to learn it. Like you might not know everything, but if there's some companies out there that maybe you've heard about, learn about them. The medical marijuana industry, the airline industry, the car manufacturing industry. Maybe you got to just find something that interests you and then immerse yourself in that. And so to find, like for me, I specifically trade earnings. A lot of times I trade earnings, but if I wasn't trading earnings, I would trade other things that I know. So I would just skip right to Tesla, skip right to Under Armour, skip right to Facebook, skip right to Visa, skip right to all those different things. And so that's why the best people that I've found who do really well are people who have already been trading stocks. So if you understand stocks, you understand what makes stocks move, you're going to kill it in options.
Yeah. You know, it's crazy you said, you brought up Nike, because Trent right here just said, for instance, Nike. And then right when he commented that you brought up Nike, I actually got to talk to someone who worked at Nike, and he talked about intrinsic value, like what you said. And the best way I can really describe really quick intrinsic value is a Honda Civic and a Bentley can do the same thing. They both can get you from point A to point B, but that Bentley has that intrinsic value, how you feel about it, how others see it. And Nike has that on lock because they have the athletes, and you want to wear those LeBrons. All right, let's bring in some comments. Oh, my pops is on here. He said, "What up, son?" He said, "Your volume's a little low. I hope it's better." I turned it up when he said that. We got Ed Lewis on Periscope, says 100, 100. Every time I hear 100, I think of a quote you said on, it was either Twitter or Instagram. You were like, one person's, oh, Todd doesn't know what he's talking about, is another person's 100 bars. That had me rolling.
Oh.
I am Canon 845. What up? What up? He says, I feel like I'm always missing the when to pull the trigger on options. Any advice on
Mhm.
when to pull the trigger?
Man, I feel like the thing is, I think what a lot of people do wrong is they buy at the wrong time. And what I mean by that, I mean that when you're buying stocks, you got to be a contrarian. You can't be the person who sees the news and sees what everybody's talking about is hot, and then you buy. You got to actually take the opposite stance. And that's true in real estate. That's true in stocks. That's true in options. That's true in business. You got to buy what they hate. It's like Warren Buffett says, you got to be fearful when they're greedy and greedy when they're fearful. And so what I did over the past week is I heard the news about Delta Airlines, about Southwest Airlines, about all these airline companies. They were just getting hammered. Boeing was getting hammered. The news is terrible. You know what I did? I bought the hell out of that stuff. I loaded up. I bought so much stuff. I just unloaded everything. And in the short term, I did lose a little bit of money. Like for the next 2 days, it kept going down. But I never looked for the bottom. I only looked for a discount. I'm not looking for the bottom. The cliche is buy low, sell high. Everybody thinks it's buy at the bottom, sell at the top. No, buy low, sell high, which means even when it comes to selling, I'm not looking for the top. I sold on Thursday, and you know what happened? The market tanked on Friday because I was like, hey, I made enough money. I'm good now. The news is still good. Let me sell into the strength as opposed to selling on Friday, and I'd have been pissed off and I'd have lost a whole bunch of money. So I feel like what you have to do is you gotta think differently. You gotta think like an investor. You can't think like a consumer. So as a consumer, if everybody's buying Apple iPhones, I'm buying Apple iPhones. Everybody's buying Samsung TVs, I'm buying Samsung TVs. Everybody's buying whatever, I'm buying that. That's not how you think as an investor. As an investor, you're on a prowl for what they hate. So if they're dogging out Tesla stock, that's what you go buy. If they're dogging out Nike stock, that's what you go buy. If they're dogging out whatever, that's what you go buy. And so if you're having problems, you're probably following. You got to be a leader. You got to actually be ahead of the news. I tell people to read the news, not to do what the news is telling them, to use their logic and their intellect to see what's not being said. You got to find the discrepancy.
That takes
You have to
self-confidence.
outsmart. You got to outsmart the market.
Yeah.
You can't follow. If you follow, you're gonna get effed. So I think that's the problem, and that's why even in the group that we have is I don't want you following somebody's trades because it might be too late. I don't want you even following Warren Buffett. It might be too late. So you got to change the way you think, and you have to buy before good stuff comes out, not after. A lot of times people will hear the jobs report is great, and that's when they buy. No, you have to have done enough analysis, and sometimes it's just looking. Like, what do I see? Are people getting laid off? Is my job talking crazy? Are they reducing wages? Okay, based on all of this data, I can tell that on Friday that jobs report is probably not going to be good, and you want to buy before Friday because you're not going to get the win unless you buy before Friday. If you buy after Friday, then the news is going to come out. It's going to be priced in. Unfortunately, sometimes you also have to figure out that some things are already priced in anyway. So what I mean by that, a stock price is basically it's so similar to real estate. So you have all this data, all this information, all this news, and all that news creates a stock price. So if we as a community already think that the job market's going to be bad on Friday, it could actually already be priced in. And so you have to kind of think about that too. It's a lot that goes into it. And I think you get it more the more that you live in it.
Yeah.
So you got to live in it, and you got to be listening to Kramer. You got to be watching CNBC. You got to be reading news articles. I know somebody, he said he reads an article per day. So it's a legit job. You don't get to make $20,000 in side money
But chilling.
or whatever else you're making and not put the work in. So you got to study. You got to listen. You got to read. You got to look at the charts. You got to ask questions. You got to participate. You got to probably consult with somebody. But the reward and what comes on that is definitely worth it.
Okay. God, we had a gang of questions. Fliakatube says, in your course, do you teach how to set up an option trading plan?
Not necessarily. I don't think I do that. I think I know what he's talking about in that some people they are really systematic and formulaic. I'm not that systematic and formulaic. I I would just say the answer to that question is no,
Okay.
not necessarily.
Okay. Um, we got Trent. He said that's crazy you say that because I was just looking into the airlines because I believe the airlines is a world necessity and after Corona it'll be right back. He
Absolutely.
said he needs to consult with Todd. We'll see what I could do. We'll have Todd say everywhere you can hit him up. He said learn to become self efficient. I am Canon 845 says thank you so much for that gym, and they put a little emoji of a gym. Um, Going back to how the market is right now, I'm gonna slide in with my question. We've been answering all your questions. I need my questions in here too. Um, do you see right now as hard times or as an opportunity? And whichever one you think it is, how so?
Man, you know, it's always tough to make that call on a Sunday because you don't really know what the market's going to give you on Monday. And I think that Monday is really when you get a chance to really see what's going on. So I still think the market's massively undervalued. And I'm a value investor, meaning that I try to find a great stock at a fair price, not a great price on a fair stock. So I try to find something that's undervalued. I try to find something that's worth more on the market than it is selling for. And so you see that all across the market right now. If you were to look at where we fell from and where we are now, there's still a gap. There's still a lot of money to be made. Now, my problem is in a lot of ways we were overvalued. So the stock market was selling, it was at like hitting all-time highs, crushing crazy records. So it's tough to really call it. And the great thing about stock options is you don't have to only make money when the market goes up. You can also make money when the market goes down. And you can also do both simultaneously.
Yeah.
And so if you decide, hey, I don't know which way it's going to go, then you can actually play both sides. Or if you think nothing's going to change, you can actually play both sides the other way and you can just sell options. And then as long as the stock doesn't move, then you make money. You can also do all the above. So I would say that last week, I was for sure there was an opportunity.
Yeah.
This week, we saw a bunch of gains, but depending on which companies you're looking at, there could still be some run up.
Mm-hmm.
It might not happen this week, next week, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks, because we don't really know when it's going to happen. And so that's why when I bought a bunch of Corona oriented stocks, I bought shares as opposed to options because I don't know when it's going to be. It's all up in the air. And I think that's very important to understand because everybody wants certainty where there is none. I don't think anybody really knows when it's going to happen. So therefore, you got to factor that into your analysis and your trading plan. You got to factor that into what you're going to do going forward. The fact that you don't know isn't a bad thing. The problem is people try to create certainty where there is none, as opposed to trading with the understanding that there isn't any certainty. See, the thing with options is they give you an expiration period. So options aren't unlimited. You don't just get to buy options and hold forever. And so I think that that's the counter argument as to why not options. What I mean by that is that let's say I buy options and they expire this Friday. That means if they don't hit my price point, I lose all my money. If I buy the stock, I could hold until my son is 18. And as long as the stock market comes back, I'm going to make some money. And so that's the difference. The opportunity is there. It just, for options, I'm not sure. The volatility is probably still going to be present. And so that's what you're looking for when you're trading options is strong ups and strong downs, especially over a short time period. And so we're talking about tonight, we're actually having a conference call about trading the S&P index. And it's going to be pretty dope. And so that's short-term stuff. That's where you're just saying, hey, over this next week, is the market going to go up or down? I think there's still some room for it to go up, but there might be a whole lot of bad news coming out. And so it's likely probably going to continue to go down further. See, if you're buying stocks, you can only profit when it goes up, unless you're going to protect it with puts or protect it with options on the downside. But for the most part, stocks are buy and wait. Options are, I need that money right now.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say in the most immediate, maybe there's some opportunity on the downside. So maybe you want to short the market and just continue to think there's going to be more doom and gloom. I think that there's, especially with the way the media, they love this stuff. They feed off of bad news. They feed off of selling fear.
Yeah.
And I feel like we're in a position now where there's more fear than anything. So I would say the opportunity is on the downside as opposed to even buying deals. And that's why I said you got to play both. Short term options, we're buying puts. A lot of people in our group are making money buying puts. They're making money based on the market going down. However, you can still make money based on the market going up. It's just we don't know if it's going to happen this week, next week, the week after. And so that's why you shouldn't paint yourself into a corner. It's not just stocks or options. It's not just real estate or vending machines or barbershops
Yeah.
or whatever the hell we own. It's
Oh,
everything.
you just
You
reminded
got
me
to do
about the
both.
vending machines. I'm gonna ask you about that in a minute. My mentor was a fighter pilot in the Air Force, and he talks about the winners in war when you're flying your airplane is the ones who can move the fastest and see the furthest. And my dad used to also teach me when I was driving, look as far down on the road as you can, and everything will just come to you, and you can always react to everything. And so this is so clutch for anybody who didn't catch that. He is able to play the long game via when Warren Buffett says stocks is a mechanism that takes money from the inpatient and gives it to the patient. You are using that, but at the same time, you can still get that quick money too by using options and using stocks. Like for
Absolutely.
example, so many of my coworkers were upset about their 401ks because of all the corona stuff. I only put in my 401k with a match so I can get that quick money in the 401k, but then the rest of my money is in that annuity, which ain't gonna lose. So it's playing the quick game and the long game, which is a cheat code,
Yeah.
major cheat
In all
code.
actuality, my entire portfolio isn't just trading options. I tell somebody I might probably use 10 to 15% of my money trading options. At one point in time, my entire portfolio was used trading options. But I think even then, I still wasn't throwing everything at it. So I would just say that like let's say I have $105,000. I'm only gonna trade that five. I'm gonna leave the whole other 100 sitting there and I might buy dividend stocks.
Yeah,
I'm not even really messing with that stuff. Like that stuff is like that's the foundation. And so then that 5,000, that 10,000, that 15,000, that's what's actually getting played with. And I think people can if you take that approach to it, it makes it it makes it easier to digest the risk. Because worst case scenario, you lose 10 to 15% of your portfolio. But the best case scenario, you double your portfolio.
true that, true that. Trent says that's an opportunity. I am Canon 845 says, is averaging down a good stock strategy for the current climate we are in?
I would say it depends on the stock that you own, man. You don't want to average down on some BS. What is BS? Snapchat is BS. A long time ago, we
There
bought the
goes
Snapchat
Snapchat stock.
IPO and it tanked. And I was like, I'm just gonna sell it all. I don't believe in the value because the worst part about that is as soon as that happened, Instagram released their Instagram stories. And when you have a competitor that has that much control of the market and that much resource at its disposal, it was just bound to lose. Versus a company like maybe Tesla or a company like these stocks right now, Apple, great companies, Chipotle, great companies. If and this is why I tell people to invest in what you know. Because if you invest in what you know and invest in what you like and invest in what you think is going to go up and improve just based on your daily life. Like
Yeah.
what do you see that's popping? I see nothing but Model 3s on the road. I want a Model 3. I see nothing but maybe not Model S's that much, but a lot of Model 3s. And so the news that comes out, you got to read the news with a grain of salt because there's people out there who they hate on the stock and they're out there buying the stock at the same time. So I would just say that if you buy a great stock and you know it's a great stock and it goes down, buy more. But if you bought a stock hoping to make some money and you know nothing about the stock, like Snapchat, and it goes down, just leave or learn. So leave or learn. Maybe you need to do some reading, some research, and then looking with the forecast. And don't look at it with rose-colored glasses. Don't be naive. Legit, look at the reality that is there, not what you want to see. That's what a lot of investors do. They see what they want to see, not what's really there. So I would say I'm definitely pro averaging down. I do it all the time. An example of that is with Under Armour. We averaged down. So I bought Under Armour and they ran up. They ran up to like $100 and they split in half. and they ran up again to like $100, and they split in half. I made a ton of money. I doubled my money. This was like 2-3 years ago, and then I started the investment club. And one of the first stocks I recommended to the investment club was Under Armour. I was like, hey, get Under Armour. It's been nothing but great for me. And we get it, and something happened. They reported earnings. The whole company got cut by like 25%.
Yeah.
Next period, they got cut in half by like 25%. Next period, they probably got cut in half again. And I just kept buying down. And at one point in time, they got it together and they ran up. And I think because we bought down, we ended up making all our money back, and we probably doubled our investment. So when you believe in a stock and you see this is the time when Steph Curry was hot.
Yeah.
So I was like, it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense that Steph Curry is out there in Under Armour winning championship after championship after championship, and their stock's getting cut in half. And when you see something like that, that's the discrepancy that I'm telling you about. That's the contrarian aspect that I'm telling you about. Where you see something and the stock says something different. That's an opportunity to buy.
Yo, that's dope. So what you're telling me is that Netflix is done after Disney Plus.
I thought that, but it seems like Netflix is fighting back, man. It does. They're releasing content, but I don't know. I was worried too. Like, I think I probably pulled my money out of Netflix around that time because I saw the fear. Like, Disney owns everything, Marvel, all that stuff. So it's definitely a true competitor. I think Disney is a great company to buy right now if you're buying it long term because it's at a discount. But that's tough to call, man. I think at this point in time, with them being priced so cheaply, you can actually afford to have both. It's not like either or. It's not like I can either drive a Lexus or BMW. It's like, I could pay $12 for Netflix and pay $10 for Disney and keep them both. I think that's just the world we live in now, where it's like both and not either or.
All right, we got a bunch of comments. Mr. Woodmore said, pretty much you got to be open and just watch what's going on. He said TikTok is popping right now. And then somebody else in the comments is talking to him and said TikTok is owned by a foreign entity. I don't know if that makes a difference. Trayvon says, how is your portfolio structured between all your trading accounts?
That's a good. I hear what you're saying. I would just say that the way that I have it situated is I have a TD account, and that's for my coronavirus stocks, and that's actually an individual retirement account. And then I have my Robinhood account, and the Robinhood account has like the bulk of my cash, but then it also has like a little 10% that I use to trade. And I just kind of keep that there, and that's what I use to trade. And so I would say my individual retirement account is where I'm buying most of the value plays. That's why I'm buying the long-term stuff where it doesn't have to come back tomorrow. It's a retirement account. That means if it comes back in 25 years, we're good. And then my personal portfolio, I have the percentage that I have allocated to options. And then I'm also considering putting that other percentage into something like REITs. And so I want to buy something that's going to pay me a consistent dividend, or either REITs or actually just like dividend paying stocks. And so I think that's kind of what I'm looking at this point, because I mean, if I could put whatever I have over there and I can get 10% annually, that's kind of good just for keeping your money there. So you have to have tiers. Like, you have stuff that's aggressive, you have stuff that's long term, and then you have some things that are going to just pay you income. And I think that's how I have it presently. But a lot of that changes with age. Like they say, like when you're younger, you can afford to take more risks. So under 30 me, I might be trading options with maybe more than 10 to 50% of my portfolio. It might all be in options.
Okay. Quarterquise says, do you do any training or have courses available on Forex? And I'm going to touching on that after you answer that. What do you think about Forex?
I don't even touch Forex. I try to understand it. I don't understand it. Forex to me is kind of like, I don't get it, man. I maybe I have to learn. I got to figure it out, but I don't trade Forex. I never have. Yeah. I know some people do, and they do good with it, but my thing is I understand business. So at the end of the day, stocks, real estate, I'm a business person.
Yeah.
That means I understand business, and like Wall Street Chapter says, he says, we're not buying stocks, we're buying businesses.
Yeah,
We're business investors. And so for me, I just understand
that's my next move.
Tesla growing. I
Yeah,
understand Amazon growing. I understand that kind of stuff. I don't understand currencies. That's why I didn't get into crypto. I just don't. I need an asset backing what's going on. I need revenues. I need expenses. I need a balance sheet. I need an income statement. I need earnings per share and all that stuff because
yeah,
that's what I understand. So for somebody out there, they might understand it because a lot of that stuff is just pure technical analysis.
yeah,
All you're doing is looking at the chart, plotting patterns, and doing that kind of stuff.
yeah,
And I'm more of a fundamental guy, more of a Warren Buffett guy. I mean, who wouldn't want to follow Warren Buffett? So I'm just like, hey, he's the most successful guy. I'm going to follow what the most successful guy is. If the most successful guy was a Forex trader, you might see me trading Forex. But he just happens to be a stock investor. So I just kind of follow in his footsteps.
yeah. That's crazy. I'm sitting on millions of dollars in that Iraqi money, hoping it for it to revalue. But I've been sitting on that for I don't know how long, bro. They like because you know that the Kuwaitian when we went and kicked Iraq out of Kuwait, a lot of people bought up that Kuwaitian money for
Hmm,
cheap, and then when they revalue, a lot of people became millionaires. So I was hoping that's gonna happen
interesting.
with that, but I don't touch forex. Somebody here said Trey's wifey 21 says forex is like calculated gambling, which means it's just gambling. Um, Hype Photography says it won't be tradable unless a U.S. company buys it. Talking about TikTok, I see, and somebody said, "Cool, thanks for answering their question," and another appreciate that for answering their question. So I'm gonna lead to my question. Not asking you to put too much of your business out there, but when you make the side money in stocks or options, what do you invest in with your extra income, or do you put it back?
So the goal for me, and I always tell people that reinvesting is how you rent it up. And so, especially like when I made the money in when I was that year, I was making money and immediately flipping it and
Yeah,
immediately flipping it. So whenever I make money trading options, that just becomes my new capital to invest in options and go bigger. Um, so that's what I do with that. Business income is different. Business income gets stashed. I don't spend business income. That's one of the luxuries of having a job. But I would just say that and also it kind of varies. It varies depending on what you have to do. Like that year, I had to buy a ring, so I bought a ring, and then I also had to pay off
congratulations.
some debt or something.
Yeah,
And so these days, now that everything is situated, I can strictly just focus on investing and investing and investing and investing because the goal, I'm like 33 now, the goal is to be in a very good place by 35. So
yes,
35, let's see what we can get to. And that's just what I tell people. And that's what we do with pretty much everything. If we make money in vending machines, it stays in the vending machine business. If we make money in real estate, it stays in the real estate business. If I make money trading, it stays in the trading business. And the goal is really to blow this up. The goal is to actually start hiring traders and teaching them and growing that portion of the business. So then we have like Tide Capital, we have a whole trading floor. And so that's one idea. But I think you have to do what works for your business.
yeah,
But I think people need to take on the mentality of an investor and a business owner and investor and just strictly all money in, man.
yeah.
That's what he said. He said it for a reason because it works.
Quarter quite said, like Dame Dash says, it's all about the flip.
Exactly. He said I
Um,
never have money. When I make it, I put it back in the
I put it
streets.
right back. I ain't got it. You know what I mean? That takes faith, man. Hype Photography says, what tips would you give a newbie during a recession? I'm gonna ask that question in a better way, or we'll just kind of touch on it a little bit because I had this question anyway. Um, you're broke. You have no money. You got to start today. What steps are you taking to go from 0 to 100 to just build from a foundation for someone who's watching this? They ain't got nothing. What you know today, your brain. Because one thing I do know, someone could with the speaking business, they could take away everything I have. I know how to build that right back up.
Mm,
What would you do from zero,
man,
especially in this recession, so-called
I
recession,
think,
which is gonna build
man,
back
it's.
like
I
it's a
feel like
squat.
the great thing about it is so many ideas coming to mind. So it's not like this is the only way that you can do it.
Yeah,
So I'm a big fan of finding the deal. You find the deal and the money finds you. And so I might find a real estate opportunity. I might be out there knocking on doors, putting up signs, finding deals, and then putting that deal in front of an investor. And then instead of actually getting a wholesale fee, I just want to be a partner in the deal. I want equity, and maybe I'll get a little piece of a wholesale fee. That's one way. Another is you might have to go work for somebody. You might have to work a lot more than you working full time. So you might have to work weekends, evenings, and do that kind of stuff while you work on your side hustle. You work on all these things in after hours. I always tell people that if I have money and I have earning season, I'll never be broke. So it's like you don't need a lot of money. You can. We've had people who have turned $200 into 2,000 because they just you can get it in. You can get in there for a contract that's like $50, and that $50 can turn into $200. And so for me, it's like as long as I have earning season, and as long as I have the stock market, and as long as I got a few bucks, I can get it. So I'm looking at low price stocks like Ford. Ford is a $10 stock, but it's a long-term company. Bank of America. You got to look for inexpensive stocks because inexpensive stocks have inexpensive options. So Bank of America is one. Ford is one. A lot of those Dow companies are them. I can't think of anyone off the top of my head, but I would say look for some lower cost companies and try to flip them. The thing is like a lot of people, they want to get into penny stocks. And so penny stocks becomes what they can do with a little bit of money. The problem is usually penny stocks are in terrible companies. They're in companies that aren't proven. They're in companies that are actually going out of business, but they're not in companies that are still out there making a buck, doing well. Options allows you to get in there and buy a great company for a great price as opposed to buying a crappy company for a great price. And so I tell people like, instead of trading penny stocks, trade options. Get in there with your little bit of money. You don't need a bunch. And I think that's what's made the company, this project so successful is you can teach somebody to buy vending machines and they got to get 10 grand. A lot of people are sitting on 10 grand. You can teach somebody how to buy real estate, and then they got to figure out how they can get the down payment or how they can get their credit right. A lot of people don't have that. Yeah. What a lot of people do have is the ability to download a free app and the ability to put $100 over there. So you buy my course, you put $100, $200 over there. Anybody can do that. Yeah. And that's why it's been able to run up the way it's run up. And I've done a lot of different things, and this has just been, and I've found that a lot of low barrier to entry things are easy to kind of scale. So the investment club, $25, $100, or the real estate club, $1,000, or all the different things we've done. When you bring that barrier lower, it allows you to scale, and scale allows you to get to the bag, the big bag.
The big bag. We got Sam McDonald. He said he put some speakers on here. What up, Sam? Sam's the GOAT. I got to introduce you to Sam as well. Sam is like Worldwide West, knows everybody, hustler. That's my bro. I got to introduce you guys. So we only got a couple minutes left here with Todd. So make some quick questions, you guys. Comment, share, like, all of that stuff. I see all of your comments. We got a bunch. If I didn't get to your comment, I'm sorry. I'm just trying to do questions that bring a lot of value. But ask your questions. We only got a couple more minutes. I wanted to ask, and you kind of taught me about this because I threw away a lot of money initially when I was getting bread, first start getting a little bit of money. What is your favorite asset to build? And what is your process in building assets? How do you think about that?
Man.
So I know you got the properties, but I don't know if that's your favorite. That's kind of what I'm going to be getting into now.
Yeah. I don't even know, man. I love them all. I would honestly say I love them all. Like there's nothing
machines right now.
The vending machines, the one thing I like about vending machines is the cash flow is a lot stronger for what you put out. And it's impersonal, meaning that people aren't buying me. They're buying something that's already been branded and sold to them. They're buying Doritos, they're buying Reese's Pieces, they're buying M&Ms. These are things that these mega companies spend a lot of money getting in front of them on TV, and we just happen to sell it. So Pepsi, Coke, Dr. Pepper, Sprite, we're just the facilitator. We're just the middleman at that point in time. We're bringing you what they already sold to you. So I would say at this moment, and where my focus is, because I'm in the process of trying to buy a 3-location vending machine route that kicks off about $2,500 gross a month. and the actual total purchase price is like 14,500. You're not getting 2,500 in cash flow in a rental property for that kind of money. It just doesn't happen. Now, granted, you're not getting the appreciation, you're not getting the debt pay down, you're not getting the tax benefits, you're not getting any of that stuff. So there's give and takes with both. I would just say right now, and where I'm trying to position myself so that I can kind of invest my way out of my job, would be buying more vending machine routes, because that cash flow is going to replace my working income. That working income is going to allow me then to scale the investment brand. Because the goal really, I always tell people, like, we started small. We don't plan on staying small. So if you look at my office, it's nothing but just LoopNet pictures of different skyscrapers in the city, because that's what our goal is. I'm trying to do some large scale development stuff, but I can't do that working for somebody else. Yeah. But I can do that if I have my time, because at that point in time, it's just a project. Did you find the architect? Did you get a designer? Did you get the financing? Does the project and the plan make sense? Like, that's what I really want to do. I want to do that Dom people stuff where now you're making a $2 million development fee on a project that takes 2 years, 3 years to do out. I'll make $2 million a year, or $2 million total for 3 years. Like, that's what I really want to do. Yeah. But doing a lot of different things that I can do in the process. One of those things is trading options. One of those things is vending machines and real estate and business. I mean, I love business, and I'm in the process of creating out another brand right now. Hopefully that one it gets some traction. I'm thinking of different creative ways to put it out there, but I think business is probably one of my favorite assets to build, is a business, and then also real estate. And I think business and real estate.
Business and real estate.
The only problem with real estate right now, and the reason why I'm kind of like is you got to skip the middleman. So there's people who will get their hands in your deals,
yeah,
and they'll make it not a fun process. So wholesalers, they buy a house for 10, they want to sell it to me for 15. Like, why are you making $5,000 off of this? Like, I'd rather just skip you and get it for 10.
How do I get straight to it? Like Dame says, cut the middleman.
Or like contractors. A lot of these contractors, they'll give you a bid, and the bid will take your whole property up to the actual market value. So there's no margin for you to make money. Mm-hmm. So they think it makes sense to them, but it doesn't make sense to me as an investor. So I got to skip them to make real estate make sense at this point in time.
Okay. Sam wants to know, what is a nice option to tap into after the crazy ending of last week? He says, I hit a AAL, but bought back into it and took a hit. I have an APR3 expiration date on it.
Mm-hmm. April 3rd. That's like this Friday, probably. No, probably not this Friday. Probably like this Wednesday. No, this Friday. It's this Friday. So, man, I feel like you got to let the market give you what it wants. And so you got to be constantly scanning the market, looking for what they're talking about. For the most part, I try not to have CNBC turned off. I try to always be watching CNBC, because you never know what you're going to see come across the bottom of the screen, what they're talking about, what's going to flash up, what chart they're talking about. That kind of keeps your eye on the ball. For me, I just feel like one of the best opportunities is to trade the whole S&P index, the SPY, or the DIA, the Dow Jones Index, because it takes a lot of the guesswork out of it. There's so many stocks out there, a lot. And if you're trying to look at all the stocks.
He said April 3rd is Friday. I just want to throw that in real quick.
Right. So if you're trying to look at all the stocks, it's going to be tough to take advantage of opportunities, because now you're looking at 5,000, or there's like a lot of stocks out there. For me, I'm just looking at the index, man. SPY, DIA. I'm not trying to do too much individual stuff out there right now. Just because it's really unpredictable. We're in times that nobody has seen. So for me to tell you this is what you got to do, I'll be lying to you. I don't know.
Yeah.
I just know that we can kind of understand the overall direction that the market's going. It's for the most part going down. If you look at the chart, it's going down. We're in correction territory. So I would rather you play the overall market than try to pick individual stocks at this point in time. Like, yeah, you're probably going to do well if you buy airlines. And you might still be able to do well. But the thing is all these airlines are still shutting down. So we had a correction last week, and now we actually had a pullback. Are we going to see further pullbacks? I don't know. Yeah. It's tough to call. I mean, you got to take it as it comes to you, man.
Yeah. Sam says, I appreciate that honesty. And then we'll get into the last question here. But just to add my 2 cents, yeah, I'm kind of feeling like it's an opportunity because the whole game I'm trying to play is I just got my assistant making a list of a whole bunch of businesses from people 55 to 70 that might be motivated to sell that are doing a million or more
That's
in
dope.
EBITDA so that I can go in there get a bank to let me cop it and then
That's dope.
run it
I
from
like that a
there.
lot.
I'm glad that all of this happened because it let me know I gotta cop something in healthcare. I got to. That's the only way to be safe. I think every 20 to 30 cent of every dollar's into healthcare.
Mhm.
Because if I would have bought some other stuff I was thinking about buying this year or prior to this, it would have bankrupt me. So this is kind of giving me an opportunity and helped me out a lot. Sam says, I'm hoping they tick up from the government bailout funds. So yeah, that's gonna happen. But a lot of people are on their head, Sam. They don't want them to. Beside Adam, they don't want to bail these people out and then they go buy their own stocks that they sold back. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Uh, Someone said, "Thanks for taking out the time and schedule, Todd and Roy. I appreciate it. We appreciate you for tuning in." And then scroll back up. The last question, I'm gonna answer it first. It said, "What quote do you live by?" Both of you. Actually, I'm gonna let you answer it first because I don't know. I gotta think about it.
Man, what quote do you live by? Oh man,
There's so many quotes in my head.
I would say there's a lot, but I would say one of them is just live like no one else, so that later you can live like no one else. I feel like that is a testament to my life. I talk about this on Twitter.
Mhm.
Sometimes I talk about it. It's like a lot of people. I was talking to my uncle, and he was telling me, "It's like, man, your cousins really look up to you. Like, they
Yeah.
like what you have going on. Like, we're proud of you." And I told him, I was like, I do a lot of stuff that people don't want to do.
Yeah.
I like the process of becoming somebody is what a lot of people would argue about. So I go on Twitter. I'm like, hey, y'all got to stop spending money on dumb stuff. Hey, you guys got to stop taking all those vacations. Hey, you got to do this, 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 this.
Yeah.
And I'm going to get a whole bunch of arguments. But the other side of that looks like owning every damn thing. And now you're in a position where it's like you write your own check. You decide what you want to go and where you want to go and how you want to go and when you want to come back home and what hotel you want to stay in and
Mhm.
what level of food you want to eat. Like, I just feel like that is where I've always kind of lived my life. And I still got more sacrifice. Like the sacrifice doesn't stop. The sacrifice only just like it looks different. It never stops. It just looks different. So living like no one else so that you can live like no one else. A lot of people want investment capital and they act like they don't have it, but they spent it on a belt or they spent it on whatever they spent it on. So if you live like no one else, it's not comfortable. People are gonna look at you and they're gonna laugh, but pretty soon they'll be asking if you're hiring.
Facts. I guess mine's is real simple. Without integrity, nothing works. I have a whole idea on what integrity is. The definition of integrity is to be whole, complete, and undivided. And if you look at a wheel, if you take spokes out of that wheel, the more spokes you take out, the wheel wouldn't be able to roll, which means it won't be able to work. And so we have all these things we give our words to, and we're falling out of integrity every day. And just by being a person of integrity, it just makes you that much more powerful, and it gives you authority. And it's just and I live by integrity and loyalty, just straight up. Couple last little things. Trent said, "A man without a plan is a man with no future." Trent said straight up. Uh, he said, "You're preaching," and he said the legwork is important. All right, man. We went like 4 minutes over time. Right now, I just want to give you some time to just really promote your socials and your course. I'm gonna cop the course and take a look at it when I get some time. But right now, just talk about your course, and you can't see it, but everyone on live can see your course. Right now, I'm gonna throw it up here online. So just talk about it, and I'm gonna scroll through it here.
Yeah, so you know, I didn't even realize how impactful it was until recently. It's something I put together, and people have been taking the course and they've been doing some really really cool stuff. And so I get testimonials every day the market's open. People are they're just so grateful they found a way that they can make money with not having to have a bunch of money. So what I teach people is the fundamentals of stock option trading. I also teach them how I was able to use option trading to successfully win and do very, very well. Um, it is currently 3 videos long. It is actually going to be adding another video tonight. We're going to be actually going in depth into trading the index. And so at that point in time, it's going to be 4 videos long. I'm selling it right now for only $97. So that's like $25 per video. People are always telling me like it's underpriced. And these are people who have taken the course and they have had success with the course. They're saying, bro, like raise the price, raise the price. So I think that that's the ultimate validation. I can tell you like, yeah, it's this, it's that, but the daily results that I get from average people who are able to do well, that is it's an amazing feeling. It's like Jay-Z said, he said, I wish I could give you this feeling. So we have we have a lot of other courses on the site. We have the vending machine webinar. We have the long distance real estate investing webinar, how to form your own LLC webinar. I have a whole suite called the group economics. What do I call that? The group economics starter kit, and that is how to start your LLC. It also has how to invest as a group and how to start your own investment club. So pretty much everything that I've done and I've had success with, now I'm packaging it up and I'm giving it to people for a fair value. I always tell people that the goal is a fair value, not to tax people. You can find that on www.toddcapital.co. You can also find it at www.gumroad.com/Todd Capital. My personal website is www.oglesbyholdings.com or oglesbyholdings.co. My Instagram is at Partner with Millie. The business Instagram is at Todd.Capital. The personal Twitter is at Todd Billy. We got a 2 podcasts. One's called the Tweet Talk Podcast, where we just really just talk about Twitter topics, and we got to get Roy on there. And the other one is the Millionaire Podcast, which Roy was already on. And that's where we talk about real estate investing, business investing, stock market investing, everything on that show. It was just something I put together because I wanted to show people that the things that they think don't exist actually do exist in real life. And we've been doing that for about 3 years. We're on about 140 episodes. And man, just continuing to 10x and put as much content and information out there for the people with just a goal of helping people. So I've just found that the more people you help, the more that you win. So I just want us all as a community to kind of take that approach. Like, who can you help? Who can you put on? Who can you serve? Whose life can you improve? Because I guarantee you, and I'm a testament of this, is the more people you help, the more money that you're going to make, the more blessed you're going to be, and the more people you're going to then be able to even bless as you grow.
Man, that's facts, man. Hype Photography said, thank you guys. I'm Canon 845 said, thank you. I learned a lot. Kwai said, I'm grabbing the course tomorrow. I need 10% on that, bro. Trent said, thank you. Keep killing it. We appreciate it. And then Trent gave a fist. Yo, thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you. This is going to create a loop. We're going to put it on YouTube. You'll be able to see it. Todd, I'll send it to you because I know you can't really see the part we got going. I hope you guys enjoyed it as much as we enjoyed coming live for y'all. Till next time, Todd, thank you so much, bro.
Yes, sir.